Everyone, welcome to my Pluto in Aquarius special transit video. My name is Cailin, and today I'm going to be covering what we can expect with Pluto changing signs. So Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008, and on the 23rd of March in 2023, it will be entering the sign of Aquarius, and Pluto has a 248-year orbit cycle. So this really is a once in a lifetime transit that we are going to be experiencing. But before I get into the video, I just wanted to mention a couple of housekeeping things. So there will not be any March horoscopes for this month, but I will be back with my April horoscopes where I'll be covering all 12 signs, and that will be towards the end of this month. So if you want to check that out, make sure you have subscribed to the channel. Now, I won't be going super in depth into how Pluto changing signs into Aquarius will impact all 12 signs. I'll cover it somewhat lightly. So if you do want to have a full breakdown of how Pluto is going to impact you, you can purchase my 2023 yearly horoscopes, and each horoscope has about a 15 to 20-minute segment on Pluto entering Aquarius. Having said that, if you are an Aries, Pluto will be entering your 11th house. So Aries, sun, moon, and risings can anticipate big changes coming through for your friendship circle, your wider network, acquaintances, social media, communities and groups that you are part of, as well as your long-term goals and dreams for the future and passive forms of income. So essentially, Pluto will spend 21 years in the sign of Aquarius. It will wibble wobble back and forth in Capricorn until the end of 2024. And basically, let me just give you the dates first up. In March 2043, Pluto will enter the sign of Pisces. It will go back into Aquarius for a little bit, but as of January 2044, Pluto will be finished in Aquarius. So this is a 21-year cycle, and everything that I'm mentioning in this video is pertaining to the changes we can anticipate in this 21-year period of time in terms of when you will start to see the effects. It's really going to be on a personal level when Pluto makes a tight aspect to either your personal planets in Aquarius or your Aquarius house cusp. So I'd be looking at a 1-degree orb. If that's a bit technical, don't worry about it. You don't need to have a high level of astrological knowledge or even an intermediate level of astrological knowledge to follow with this transit video. Nevertheless, just getting back to Aries, what you guys are going to experience is a huge transformation of your friendship circle, your wider network, communities that you are part of, whether you are forming them, joining them, or leaving them, or maybe you are personally having a transformative impact on your friendship circle or a community that you're involved with. And your long-term goals and dreams are likely to shift in a very dramatic way, and these may not even reflect anything even remotely similar to what you had previously been, let's say, pursuing when it comes to your long-term goals and dreams. Now, if you are a Taurus, sun, moon, or rising, like myself, I'm a Taurus sun, this indicates that Pluto will be transiting your 10th house. So this is all about your status, your career, your public reputation, your legacy, how you're showing up in the world, as well as your involvement with governments and authorities and authority figures as well. So a lot of Taurians will be taking on positions of leadership and power and completely transforming their career. So for some of you, this could be changing industry. This could be changing the nature of your work. So for example, if you were working in a full-time capacity, over the next couple of decades, you may be reducing this to be part-time, or maybe you'll become self-employed. And if you've experienced, let's say, oppression by certain authority figures, or if you have always felt like you've had to be subservient to people who had more power and control and authority in your life, this can see you really reclaiming that power and that control. And I will be going into the buzzwords for Pluto as well as Aquarius after I get through the 12 zodiac signs and where Pluto will be transiting. But just on the whole, this transit or Pluto changing signs indicates where you have been experiencing a loss of control, or where you have felt that either someone or something has had power over you, or let's say power over this area of your life. And this is about you reclaiming that power and taking control of this area. And also, Pluto rules over things like shame, secrets, and manipulation. Okay, so anywhere in your life where you have felt manipulated or where you have felt ashamed of certain things, this is where Pluto transiting this house can see you basically shedding any shame attached to that area. So just to use myself as a personal example, I'm a Taurus sun, like I mentioned before, and you know, astrology and tarot and anything occult and esoteric really wasn't part of my plan in terms of a career. And even now, I still feel a little bit, let's say, hesitant at times when I'm telling people what I do for work, especially if I get a sense that they might be quite skeptical. And so for me, I can see that this transit will be about shamelessly saying, hey, this is what I do and this is what I'm interested in. And there's also other areas that I'm interested in now, such as mediumship. And you know what, I'm just going to reveal it in this transit video. So I've been doing mediumship training courses, training sessions for the last few months, and that's something that I've kept very, very private. So Pluto for Taurians, changing signs and transiting your 10th house can indicate this desire to basically shed shame or secrecy surrounding things that you've wanted to pursue when it comes to your status, your career, what you want to be known for, and how you want to show up in the world. Okay, so if you are a Gemini, sun, moon, or rising, you will be having Pluto transit the 9th house. And this is going to be for 21 years. And the 9th house rules over our belief systems, religion, spirituality, politics, the law, long-term travel, or I should say long distance travel, as well as coaching, education, teachers, mentors, and mentoring. So some of you Geminis may be stepping into the role of teacher, and that could be part of your plight for the next couple of decades. You could receive a life transforming education in one way or another, or you could be meeting someone who becomes like a mentor figure to you or a coach, and this person could have an incredibly transformational impact on you. And Geminis, if you've been raised with certain belief systems which have been harmful, by your own standards, let's say, this can see you deprogramming that. So I'm just going to give a hypothetical example. Maybe you were raised with a very, very devoutly religious set of belief systems, and this could now be at odds with your own personal values and your own personal beliefs. And so you may be trying really hard to let's say deprogram yourself from thinking a certain way which was ingrained in you, or we could even say indoctrinated. Okay, so for Geminis, having Pluto in the 9th house can also indicate the need to stand up to people who try to wield influence over you by maybe putting the fear of God into you, just as an example. And also, if you've had a fear of flying or visiting other countries and travel, you could be overcoming these fears. So wherever we have Pluto transiting, we may be confronting certain fears in these areas, or certain addictions, because these are some buzzwords for Pluto. Now, If you are a Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising, Pluto is going to be transiting your 8th house. And I can tell you personally, as someone who has just had Pluto in the 8th house in Capricorn, because I'm a Gemini rising, this can see you really delving into the occult, anything esoteric, whether this is astrology, psychic work, mediumship. Also, the 8th house rules over mutual resources, intimacy, our ability to be vulnerable with other people, sex, and also the 8th house is associated with Plutonian aspects anyway. So this is sort of like a doubling down on that to have Pluto um, in the 8th house, which it's naturally aligned to. It's really emphasizing these Plutonian connections. So for you guys, there will be an enormous focus on anything to do with the occult, anything esoteric. You may find yourself learning more and more about astrology, or your intuition could certainly heighten. And I found that happened for me personally with Pluto in my 8th house. I had intuitive abilities that I never knew I had. And also, this is where during this period of time, ended up becoming an astrologer and becoming a tarot reader. So you could use occult means or esoteric practices to heal yourself, transform your life, or you may even become someone who practices in this area on a personal level. Now, with the 8th house representing intimacy, being vulnerable, and mutual resources, this can indicate a need to become more vulnerable with other people, to allow other people in, to break down your walls, to help either heal yourself or to heal other people. The 8th house is connected to fears and addictions, so this can see you overcoming these. And Pluto in the 8th house will definitely see you confronting any shadow side that you have been ignoring, any demons or skeletons in the closet. These will be coming out no matter what. There won't be any way for you to hide from these things that you've buried deep. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily exposing these to the world. It's more like you are personally investigating these matters for yourself. And the 8th house rules over psychology and psychiatry and healers of all kinds. So this can see you guys maybe working with a therapist or a psychologist, or even a hypnotherapist to overcome certain psychological obstacles and issues. Now, if you are a Leo, Sun, Moon, or Rising, you are going to be having Pluto enter your 7th house. Now, you may be feeling like this is unfair after just having had Saturn in your 7th house for the last 3 years, but I see this as Saturn cleared the karma for you guys. Saturn, having transited Aquarius since 2020, has already, let's say, seen you distance yourself from individuals who have not been in alignment with your best and highest good. Maybe some of you Leos have gone through breakups or divorces during this period of time, or you could have just whittled down your friendship circle or the people who you connect with on a one-to-one level because you want to prioritize the people who are actually adding something to your life. So I don't see Pluto entering the 7th house as being something hugely terrifying for Leos to freak out about. And I know I've seen other astrologers say the opposite of this, but really, I feel like you guys already did the hard work with Saturn having been in your 7th house, and now Pluto being in your 7th house can indicate maybe getting into a relationship with a soulmate, or with someone who can completely transform your life, or who can be deeply healing, someone you can be vulnerable with and explore a more intimate side with. Now, don't get me wrong, Pluto in the 7th house for you Leos does indicate a need to reclaim your power in certain relationships, especially if there has been a dynamic where one person is exerting a lot of influence or maybe manipulation within that relationship. And by the way, this could go either way. If you have been more dominant and controlling in relationships, then you may find that the person or the people that you are dealing with are starting to stand up to you. And maybe it's just that you're finding that they're challenging you more. And if you are in a committed long-term relationship, having Pluto transit your seventh house indicates that this is Pluto transiting your partner's first house from your chart's perspective. So, technical astrology aside, your significant other is going through an incredibly transformational period or transformative period of their life. Now, if you are a Virgo, sun, moon, or rising, Pluto will be transiting your sixth house. And I'm a Virgo moon, so this mini horoscope is for me too. But essentially, the sixth house rules over health, work, your day-to-day life, your habits, your routines, being of service to other people. It also rules over conflict and anything that is out of balance. So Pluto transiting your sixth house can indicate that you are totally transforming how you work in a day-to-day capacity. And just to give you a personal example, I sort of don't have a great work routine. And by that, I don't really have a routine or a structure in place, or certainly not one that I'm super happy with. So, Pluto transiting the sixth house can indicate that rather than feeling like our work is controlling us and our work schedule is controlling us, we're taking back control. We're realizing that we have a lot more power to run our day-to-day lives in the way that we see fit. So Pluto transiting the sixth house can indicate that we could be overcoming some kind of health issue or a health crisis, because Pluto can represent deep and powerful healing. And this is often done when it's referring to Pluto in a way which entails a lot of purging of toxicity. And Pluto in itself rules over toxicity. So this can indicate going on a huge detox, completely transforming your diet or your workout regime. And, with the sixth house ruling over habits, this is good habits. This is also bad habits. We can look at the sixth house just as habits, right? So Pluto in the sixth house can see a lot of Virgos kicking some kind of addiction or a bad habit, which you may have felt has sort of taken over your life. And on a different note, the sixth house, like I said before, does rule over conflict and bullying, and so does Pluto. So this can see Virgos having to stand up to bullies, especially ones who are in the workplace. Okay, so there may be some sort of undercurrent of toxicity in your workplace or with certain people that you're dealing with. And this is about you purging yourself of their energy. Now, if you are a Libra, sun, moon, or rising, you're going to have Pluto transiting your fifth house. And the fifth house is associated with romance, dating, your love life, as well as children of all kinds. So when I say that, these are your own children. These can be students. These can be nieces and nephews. So Pluto transiting your fifth house can indicate that you may become parents. So you may have a child or more children. There may be nieces or nephews who enter your life, or students. You may take on students. And the nature of a Pluto transit is that, this completely transforms us or heals us. But we may have some fear surrounding not necessarily the transit, but the house that Pluto is transiting. So, for example, Pluto transiting the fifth house for you guys as a Libra can indicate that you may have some fear or resistance to teaching students, or becoming a parent and bringing a child into your life. And for others of you, maybe you haven't dated in a really long time, and Pluto transiting your fifth house can see you getting back into the dating pool, and maybe you need to overcome a fear in order to take that leap. Some of you may be meeting a soulmate, and for others of you, the fifth house is about what brings us joy and happiness and pleasure. So Pluto transiting the fifth house can indicate that Plutonian things are bringing you joy and pleasure, such as astrology, anything occult, anything esoteric in nature. Maybe this is a love of horror films or the darker aspects of life. I natally have Pluto in my fifth house. And when I look back at my TV show preferences and movies and books, it was all like Harry Potter and Vampire Diaries and just like anything to do with like magic, the occult, witches and whatnot. So Pluto transiting your fifth house can see you enjoying reading about those topics, or just watching or consuming entertainment, which is the fifth house, which is associated with these Plutonian themes. And also the fifth house is associated with owning your own business. So some of you may be creating a business or starting a business, and this could totally transform your life. And with Pluto in the fifth house, this could be related to astrology, tarot, selling crystals, psychology, anything to do with crime and investigation, detective work, healing, all kinds of healing, by the way, and mutual resources. So, dealing with other people's money, but this is like your business. So maybe you are starting your own financial services business, just as a random example. With the fifth house ruling over owning your own business, if you already have a business, this could see you closing it down, because Pluto can represent death, okay? Or you could be rebranding in a way which is like a total overhaul. So it's like completely reinventing your business, because Pluto rules over death and rebirth. So for Scorpios, Pluto, first of all, is one of the planets that rules you. The other planet is Mars. As an astrologer, I'm more inclined to follow the aspects and the transits of Mars when it comes to day-to-day transits, but certainly Pluto changing signs will have a big impact on you. So Pluto entering Aquarius, where Saturn has just been in your fourth house, can see you guys totally transforming your living circumstances, because the fourth house rules over our property that we own, whether this is, well, property in general, by the way, whether you're renting, whether you own property. This could even just be land. Some of you may be wanting to develop land. And on a different note, the fourth house rules over our family dynamics, our living situation as a whole, as well as our emotional security and our emotional sense of stability. So Pluto going through the fourth house can see you purging yourself of toxic family connections or family drama and history, even if you're no longer in contact with certain individuals for one reason or another. On a different note, this can indicate deep and profound healing with you and another family member that you never thought possible. Okay, so Pluto transiting your fourth house can indicate this rebirth and this, incredible healing that takes place within this family connection. Now, Pluto in your fourth house can see you taking back or reclaiming your power when it comes to the influence that your family has had over you. So if you've felt like you've been under their influence for your whole life, or, if they have been manipulating you, this can see you having an awareness of the manipulation that's taken place, and see you start to actually take back control of your life. Now, if you are a Sagittarius, sun, moon, or rising, Pluto will be transiting your third house, and the third house rules over friends, siblings, relatives, co-workers, as well as education. So the ninth house does rule education too, but that's more of like a high level of education, whereas the third house is more like qualifications, apprenticeships, short courses, and training and personal development. So you could be going through a really powerful education course, or you could develop course content which is really groundbreaking in the industry that you are in. The third house also rules over communications and websites and marketing material. So this can see you developing incredibly powerful marketing material or a website which is a real game changer. On a different note, you could come across literature or any kind of communication piece, really, which totally transforms your way of thinking and your mindset. So this could be like a life-changing book that you read or a life-changing documentary that you watch. Now, on a different note, with the third house ruling over siblings and relatives and friends and co-workers, you could be forming very, very deep bonds with your siblings or with these individuals. You could be healing relationships with one or more of these individuals. And on a different note, this can see you purging certain toxic friends or co-workers from your life. Or for some of you, this could even be siblings and relatives. Now, if you're a Capricorn, sun, moon, or rising, Pluto is going to transit your second house, which represents your finances, your resources, your self-esteem, your values, your valuables, as well as storage space. Okay, so anything that you have in storage, as well as your wardrobe. So, and also Pluto rules over, the second house rules over the lower half of the face. So you could be having dental work that completely transforms your self-esteem. On a different note, though, and this is the overarching theme for you guys: how you manage your money and resources, and I mean your personal money, your personal finances and resources, will be undergoing an enormous overhaul, let's say. So if you have felt like you haven't been able to get a handle on your finances, or as though you've always been capped at a certain salary, or your ability to earn money beyond a certain level has just always hit some kind of glass ceiling, Pluto here can see you totally and I know I keep using the word transform, but just deal with it, guys, because that is the key buzzword for Pluto. Anyway, you can be transforming your financial mindset, and this has to start with feelings of worthiness. Okay, so as a Capricorn, you may have insecurities about how much you deserve, how much you are worth, and there could be some kind of disconnect between how much money you want to make and what you want your savings to look like, or even your spendings to look like, and um, your ability to get there within the time frame that you want. So there could be some rigidity surrounding how you earn money, or how it will be possible for you to have the lifestyle that you want given the position that you're currently in. But Pluto in your second house will see you being able to manifest what you want. So for some of you, you may actually accept resources from another person, because Pluto rules over mutual resources. So it's like this person can help you with their resources, or maybe with their money, and then somehow you're able to, turn this situation into one where you are able to benefit hugely, because Pluto rules over obscene amounts of wealth. Okay, so Pluto being in your second house indicates that where you are financially right now will be completely different to where you are, in the next 20 years. So don't worry if, you felt like you haven't been able to earn beyond a certain point. Eventually, with Pluto transiting your second house, you'll be able to let go of fears surrounding earning money, or how difficult it will be to earn money, and also this can see you guys reclaiming power and control, especially if someone has been controlling your finances or your valuables and resources. Now, on a different note, with the second house ruling over storage and your wardrobe, this can see you guys clearing out what you have in storage. You could go through an enormous purge, especially if you have items or belongings which were maybe from a previous relationship or marriage, or maybe you guys are empty nesters and you've got a whole bunch of your children's belongings in your house, and you're like, hey, take all your boxes of your stuff. I don't need it in my house anymore. Or maybe they're just taking it with them. Now for Aquarians, so Aquarius, sun, moon, and risings, you guys will be impacted the most by this transit because Pluto will be transiting your first house. So this indicates that your physical body, how you present, how you dress, how you talk, how you hold yourself, how you shake other people's hands, what you're wearing, all of this is due for some kind of huge overhaul. Now, obviously, over a 21-year period, people are going to look completely different. I'll look different, you'll look different no matter what age you are. 20 years is a pretty huge gap in time. But it's not just about your physical body and how it's looking. It's like you as a person, how you're coming across. Are you like, let's say, friendly and outgoing? Are you introverted and shy? These sorts of personality traits and characteristics which represent your demeanor and how you come across, especially when it comes to a first impression that you make on other people, these are shifting. So I would not be surprised if Aquarius, sun, moon, and risings just are completely different in appearance and demeanor and even aura once Pluto crosses the ascendant. Now, I'm making a special point of that because, Pluto only travels like 1 or 2 degrees in a year. So, or maybe it's even 1.5. Either way, it depends which sign Pluto's in. Nevertheless, in terms of when you guys are going to experience the biggest change, it will be when Pluto is within a degree of your ascendant, conjunct your ascendant, and like a degree after your ascendant. So if you're a 28-degree Aquarius rising, we're not looking at this for you until like 2042 or something like that. So nevertheless, you guys will feel the shift. You'll feel it brewing even if Pluto's still in your 12th house. And this will be transforming you from the inside out. But let's say the ability for other people to perceive this in you won't really be obvious until Pluto has conjuncted and passed your ascendant. So, I have had Aquarians worried about how, Pluto entering their sign is going to impact them. This can indicate that you guys are finally taking back control in your life. Maybe you are overcoming certain debilitating fears or addictions, or if you have felt controlled or manipulated by other people or forces, this can see you taking back that power and control in yourself. Maybe you will undergo deep and profound healing. Maybe you will feel as though you have incredibly heightened intuitive abilities, which is highly likely. And you'll be able to see through other people's, let's say, veneers or fake personas. Pluto in your first house will see you guys wanting to get to the truth of things and get to the core of them, and maybe discovering universal secrets. So I don't want anyone to fear Pluto changing signs or transiting, any part of their chart, because it's such a slow moving transit. And ultimately, the goal of Pluto is to take what is rotten and toxic, purge that, transmute that, and then provide us with healing, okay, and transformation on the other side of that. But, as humans, we're just naturally so um, resistant to change that when we hear of it on the horizon, or when we feel it coming, or when it's already here, we start to freak out. So, like I said, I don't want anyone to be concerned about any astrological transit or event, period. Okay. Now, if you are a Pisces, sun, moon, or rising, you guys are going to have Pluto transiting Aquarius in your 11th house. And the 11th house is all about spirituality, um, the other side, other realms, the divine. And it's also a very artistic and creative house. Now, the 12th house also rules over addictions, escapism, anything that we keep hidden, so secrets. It also rules over isolation, foreign, faraway lands, and it's a very occult and esoteric house. So is the 8th house, but different houses in astrology can rule over similar or the same things. So the 12th house rules over yoga, meditation, and things like tarot, past life regressions, psychics and mediums, etc. So you guys can develop a really strong, almost obsessive interest in these areas. You may receive some kind of life-changing psychic reading, or have a past life regression, which helps you see how everything's clicking into place in your life. Pluto in the 12th house can see you needing to tackle certain fears or addictions. And the 12th house is associated with self-sabotage. So Pluto here, on one level, can see you sort of going more into that self-sabotaging behavior. Hopefully not, but it is possible. And ultimately, though, the spiritual purpose of this transit is for you to understand where let's say the difference between your ego and your intuition, and it will force you to really look at the ways in which you have been self-sabotaging. Now, I said I wasn't going to go into too much detail, but it looks like I did. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Now, moving on to, let's say, some world predictions, and where we can see the change of, Pluto changing signs impacting us at global level. First of all, let's talk about what Pluto rules over, Pluto power words, as I like to call them, and then Aquarius power words, and then I'm going to string it all together for you. So, neutral things that Pluto rules over are death and rebirth, fertility, psychology, psychoanalysis, anything esoteric and occult in nature, such as astrology, tarot, hypnosis, psychics, mediums, and clairvoyance, etc. Pluto rules over the chakra system, sex, intimacy, mutual resources, power, influence, obscene wealth, so really, really large amounts of wealth, secrets, and anything that is hidden, anything that is under the earth. Okay, so crystals and minerals, Pluto rules over those too. So those are some neutral things that Pluto rules over. And now I want to talk about the positive manifestation, or the higher octave of Pluto, and then I'll talk about the shadow side. Okay, so on a positive note, Pluto rules over transformation, healing. It can see us reclaiming power in an area where we once felt shame, or where we once felt powerless. This can see us overcoming fears and overcoming addictions, as well as the heightening of our intuition. So the shadow side of Pluto is fear, addictions, obsession, fixations, to let's say a debilitating degree. It's okay to be fixated with things sometimes, or we can say, oh, I'm obsessed with astrology, but this is like, obsession on a darker note. So Pluto also rules over scandals, anything taboo, lies, criminals, criminal activity, paranoia, being overly suspicious, as well as intimidation and bullying. Okay, so I mean, if there's anything I've missed, I'd be interested to know. Feel free to drop me a comment. But these are the sorts of things that Pluto rules over, and all of those power words that I just mentioned, you can take, let's say, the shadow side of that, apply it to the house that Pluto is transiting, and then look at the positive results that can come out of that. I hope that that makes sense and that you guys are following along. Now, Aquarius is the sign of the water bearer, water being truth. So this is about delivering the truth. Aquarius is an air sign, which means it is naturally associated with communication and, the communication and distribution of new ideas and concepts, or ones that are, let's say, especially speaking outside of the box or out of left field. And Aquarius is a sign of friendship. So it's about treating everyone equally and no one being superior to the next person. And by the same token, no one being inferior to the next person. So Saturn and Uranus are the rulers of Aquarius. So Saturn represents structure and tradition and the way things are set up. Uranus represents divine truth, but also shocking turns of events. Now, some buzzwords for Aquarius are science, innovation, communities, human rights. Aquarius is also Aquarius rules over astrology as well, and trends, marketplaces, and large interconnected systems, as well as technology, and robots and AI. So, and information technology. Okay, so computers, anything digital in nature. So, with Pluto entering Aquarius, we are going to see huge changes in those areas. So with Aquarius ruling over science and innovation, on one level, Pluto changing signs indicates that there are going to be profound advancements in science, in technology. We will be seeing developments with travel, especially air travel, like we've never seen before. And even with technology and science in general, we're going to see, on one hand, a lot of control being exerted in these areas, okay, and a lot of fear. So, there's most likely going to be, there already is, but a lot of hype and a lot of fear surrounding AI technology, robots, the development of in these areas. And, on one hand, there will be really rapid advancements because Aquarius rules over electrical currents and anything that happens instantaneously. So Pluto in Aquarius can just see the speeding up of advancements in science, technology, robotics, engineering, and there'll be all kinds of new inventions and innovations which are just mind-boggling. I'm getting Black Mirror vibes from this. I wouldn't be surprised if and not that I've seen heaps of Black Mirror episodes, but the ones that I have seen are just like, whoa. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of those concepts are actually grounded into reality and brought to life somehow. So, Pluto, just in terms of its energy and the nature of it, can really instill fear in individuals and in collectives. So because Aquarius rules over groups and communities, this can represent there being, let's say, groups and communities that form powerful alliances that try to get in the way of certain scientific or technological advancements. But then by the same token, we can have these powerful groups and communities that are abusing their power in these areas. So in terms of groups and communities, just in general, Pluto entering the sign of Aquarius can indicate that there are going to be culture wars taking place on a higher level than they already are. Different groups and communities are likely to be manipulated into turning on each other or trying to control other groups, communities, and races. I would exercise caution and discernment when it comes to any sort of, let's say, huge push with anything that you see in the social media. So, for example, if there's certain movements that really just, take hold of social media and they go absolutely viral, there may be some sort of agenda behind it, because Pluto rules over mass manipulation and propaganda, and also Pluto in Aquarius indicates being controlled through social media, being controlled or having, let's say, being influenced through communications, whether these are via social media, via certain groups or communities, or even certain political agendas as well. And essentially, Aquarius rules over tolerance, but Pluto can represent bullying, intimidation, and manipulation. So I do think that there's going to be a lot of, let's say, group think power struggles. So anywhere that you can exercise tolerance and acceptance of other people, other groups, other communities, other ways of thinking that are different to yours, this is the higher octave of Pluto in Aquarius energy. And of course, we are in the age of Aquarius as well. So try as best as you can not to be swayed by the thoughts and opinions of people that you're friends with, or that you are involved in certain groups or communities with, because ultimately Aquarius is about freedom of speech, really. And Pluto in Aquarius can indicate the fear of speaking our truth, or the fear of going against the collective or going against the grain. So Saturn in Aquarius has really paved the way for that anyway, with there just being, let's say, political policing between friends and between groups and communities. Anyway, that's my that's my little spiel on that. With humanitarian rights and causes, these can be taken too far. These may be considered to be a matter of life and death. These can turn ugly or morph into something that no longer represents the initial ideas, ideals, or mission statement that was initially in place with these certain human rights or humanitarian causes. Okay, so on a different note, Aquarius and Pluto in Aquarius can see there being huge changes that come through with gender identity. So new types of gender identities will likely emerge in terms of how we represent ourselves in groups and communities. These are likely to change on a level which has never been seen before. Obviously, we're already experiencing this now, but this is like taking it to a whole new level. And also, Pluto wants to expose people who have, let's say, employed manipulation tactics or intimidation tactics to get their own way, or advance their own agendas and needs. So any misconduct within the realm of forced or coerced gender reassignment will eventually be revealed during this 21-year cycle. So, obviously there are the individuals who have made informed decisions and chosen this for themselves, but then there's a whole underside to this topic, which I'm not even going to go into in this video just because it's on YouTube. And that is something which is going to be exposed by the time we get to the end of the Pluto in Aquarius transit. Now, like I said before, Aquarius rules over astrology. So, on a positive note, and on an individual level, we can be using astrology to psychoanalyze ourselves, to transform our lives, and to see what needs healing, or how we can use astrology to help heal other people. And it can also assist us to understand where we have been experiencing control and power issues. Now, on a negative note, Pluto in Aquarius can see there being people becoming overly fearful of astrological transits, or maybe having negative astrology readings, which instill some kind of fear in you. So I just want to take this moment as an astrologer who does private readings and consultations to say, if you receive a reading which leaves you feeling, and by the way, whether this is astrology or tarot or a psychic reading, just take this message how it relates to you. If you have received, or if you do receive a reading which leaves you fearful of the future, which leaves you feeling disempowered, which makes you feel like you have no control over your life, or as though things are predetermined and outside of your control, discount and disregard that reading, because astrology should be used to empower us. And by the way, astrology is not the cause of certain events happening. Astrology is like a weather report. It represents certain climates or conditions being ripe for certain events to take place or to transpire. So please, if you have received a reading which left you feeling upset or confused or disempowered, just know that that reading was not in alignment with you and is not serving your best and highest good. And unfortunately, sometimes readings can have a self-fulfilling effect, so they can be like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Just to give you a random example while I'm on the topic, I came across a client who had been told when she was in her early 20s that she would not get into a relationship that is meaningful until she was over the age of 30. Okay, so this woman decided not to pursue dating because she was so fearful that any relationship that she got into before 30 would not work out. So you can see how things can become a self-fulfilling prophecy, if the idea is planted within us and if it really takes hold. So thanks for sticking around for this little disclaimer there. Now, on a different note, Aquarius rules over electricity and electrical currents. So Pluto in Aquarius can see there being huge changes to sources of energy, how we derive them, and also who has access to energy as well. On a different note, the 11th house rules over large groups and communities. So on a positive note, people can be coming together and forming communities that totally challenge existing social norms and social standards. So, don't be surprised if you receive an invitation to join a group or a community where you share your mutual resources together, because Pluto rules over mutual resources. So, this is one of the most positive, let's say, positive experiences that can come out of the Pluto in Aquarius transit, where people are maybe finding ways to exist in certain collectives or groups or communities where they can rely on each other and not have to rely on, let's say, the existing social standards or government support. So we can see communities that are set up which are completely removed from society as we know it. And I anticipate that this will be happening all over the world. It won't just be like one group or community here or there. They'll just be popping up like daisies over the next couple of decades. Now, with Aquarius ruling over, let's say, large interconnected systems. Also, from a health perspective, it rules over the brain, neurons, synapses, etc. We can see there being incredible developments in science and technology from a, let's say, a neural development perspective. So maybe there will be incredible healing modalities available to people who have suffered head injuries, or who have some sort of, I want to say, neurological issues. Now, on a different note, the 11th house rules over, Aquarius rules over social media and trends and marketplaces. So this is where we're going to see enormous changes come through with respect to existing social media platforms. We may see even more manipulation, control, power dynamics, and propaganda coming through those channels, but also control over people or notable figures on certain platforms, so there can be more censorship taking place. But on a different level, I really think that astrology is just going to absolutely take off on a social media level, because Pluto rules over anything occult and esoteric. And like I said before, Aquarius rules over astrology. So I think that anything occult and esoteric in nature will be hugely sought after, whether people are Googling it, seeking it out. We can see an enormous increase in astrologers, psychics, mediums, and especially those who are putting themselves online and putting themselves out there. There are a lot of, let's say, psychics and mediums who just operate on a word of mouth basis because they just want to, keep keep a low profile, especially because, we can experience a lot of judgment and skepticism. And, even as an astrologer, obviously we cop that a lot as well. But Pluto in Aquarius is like, no, we're going to talk about this because, we have every right. People are seeking this information out. People want to learn about these topics. So I think that there's just going to be so many more people in the occult and esoteric industry who are, developing websites, writing communications pieces, putting themselves out there. Maybe there'll be social media platforms that exist for astrologers or for people in these industries as well. So there can be huge groups and communities forming, with respect to those topics. And let's just see. Look, it would be remiss of me not to mention the possibility of, or let's say the high probability of some kind of social credit score coming in. And ultimately, Aquarius rules over humanity at large. And like I've been saying, Pluto rules over control. So this can indicate that in order to be able to participate in society in ways that we've previously been able to enjoy somewhat freely, we may be put in a position where we have to comply with certain power dynamics. Okay, but like I said before, we're seeing these new groups and communities come through where it's like, um, maybe eventually this isn't going to bother people like it previously did. And they're like, well, I'll find other ways to have fun. I'll find other ways to have meaningful connections with people, or I'll be able to share my resources in a communal sense and in a way that won't see me having to compromise my ideals, my beliefs, my integrity in order to participate in a free society. So I think I'm going to leave it there in terms of world predictions. Um, Lastly, let me just cover Pluto transiting personal planets. And by the way, if you're dropping off at this point of the transit reading because you don't have any planets in Aquarius, thank you for sticking around and watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content on the channel, please hit the subscribe button. And if you want a much, much more in-depth reading on how Pluto transiting your sun, moon, or rising is going to impact you, like I said at the beginning of the video, you can purchase your 2023 yearly horoscope by clicking on the link in the description box below. So without further ado, let's have a look at people who have Aquarius suns, moons, Mercuries, Venuses, and Marses. Okay, if you are an Aquarius sun, Pluto is going to transit your sun sign, and eventually it's going to conjunct your sun. Like I said before, this is a 21-year cycle. So, you'll just want to check out an ephemeris to see when Pluto is actually going to make contact with your personal planets. Nevertheless, for those of you who have your sun in Aquarius, this transit can see you gaining an incredibly powerful position of leadership in your chosen career. You could be starting a new project which totally redefines your career. And this could be something which takes a couple of decades. On a different note, this can see you joining forces with a very powerful or influential person or organization and sharing your resources with them, or having access to their resources, okay? Because this Pluto transit indicates that someone or something is coming in to completely transform your career or your reputation and status. Now, some of you may go through a period of time where you don't work, or you could decide that you want to retire over the next within the next 20 years. Or some of you could become a parent and maybe you're not really going to be working while you're raising your children. Or the capacity in which you have been working could change while you are raising your children or child, especially if you're in a partnership with another person and maybe you're the one who will be the primary caregiver. On a different note, the sun represents male energy or masculine energy. So you could meet a very powerful man who completely transforms your life. And they could just have very strong masculine energy, even if they're not male. On a different note, now, if you are an Aquarius moon, I should say, or if you have Aquarius on the fourth house cusp, which would make you a Scorpio ascendant, or Aquarius on the IC, which is the nadir, this can see you meeting a soulmate, okay, with Pluto transiting your moon. A very powerful woman or feminine figure can enter your life and completely transform it in some way. You may become a mother or a grandmother. And I forgot to say, if you're an Aquarius sun, you may become a father or a grandfather. Now, you don't have, if you're, we don't have to use gender in that sense. Whether you are an Aquarius sun, moon, or rising, you may just become a parent, period. Now, if you are an Aquarius moon or you have Aquarius on the fourth house cusp, your living circumstances could change in an incredibly life-changing way. All right. So maybe this is you becoming a homeowner for the first time, or living in a place or with a person or with people who totally transform your life. Now, this can certainly see you purging toxicity with, let's say, certainly certain family members or with certain family dynamics. Now, if you are um, a Mercury in Aquarius individual, this can see you coming across life changing literature or communications pieces, or you could be producing some kind of communications piece which is very scandalous in nature or that breaks taboos or which sheds light on certain hidden secrets. Now, this could be transforming the industry that you're in or exposing the industry that you're in. Having your Mercury in Aquarius and having Pluto transit Aquarius can indicate being gripped by um, darker thoughts or just anything to do with the occult or anything esoteric in nature. This can lend itself to becoming fixated, or I dare say obsessed with certain topics and things. It is important, if you have your Mercury in Aquarius, to err on the side of becoming overly suspicious or paranoid, or being paranoid in thinking. Okay, so you'll want to offset this transit by um, if you're going to be using crystals, which Pluto rules over, maybe some rose quartz or some clear quartz crystals, cleansing your energy and just making sure you're not exclusively consuming dark literature or communications pieces, whether these are to do with occult topics or crime, or anything which is like of the horror genre or anything unsettling. Just exclusively focusing on these genres can sort of turn the mind a little bit. So just make sure you're balancing that out with some lighter material. Now, if your Venus is in Aquarius, this can see you meeting a soulmate. This could see you having a deeply intimate romantic encounter or sexual encounter which heals you in some way or which transforms your life. Venus rules over the arts as well as finances. So Pluto transiting your Venus can see you amassing um, a large amount of wealth, or you could be receiving financial support from other people, or with Pluto representing mutual resources, you may be the person who is sharing or lending your resources with other individuals. With Venus ruling over art, your taste in art, whether this is as a consumer or an artist, may take a very dark turn or perhaps an erotic turn as well. So you could be into art which, is, like I said, a lot more erotic in nature, or producing art that is a lot more erotic in nature, or it could just be quite scandalous and quite taboo. Now, Venus rules over food. So, and the way that we um, dress and do our hair and makeup. So, your aesthetic could become more darker, could become more alluring or sexual or even mysterious in nature. So, just as an example, if your Venus is in Aquarius, you may find yourself being drawn to wearing darker lipstick or nail polish, or wearing black, or like less, let's say, girly clothing. And it doesn't need to just be hair, makeup, and girly clothing. This could just be darker clothing in general, or you could be into wearing like leather, or I don't know, metalware, chains, getting more piercings potentially, or tattoos. Now, if your Mars is in Aquarius, this can see you um, standing up to people who have been bullying you or trying to intimidate or manipulate you. You may experience someone who comes into your life when Pluto gets close to your Mars or conjuncts your Mars, who embodies those qualities. But on a different level, you may meet someone who heals you or who helps you to express, let's say, your masculine energy in a more in a way which is more empowering. Mars rules over sex, and so does Pluto, and it rules over our willpower and how we take action. So Pluto transiting your Mars in Aquarius can see you having like an ironclad willpower that you are cultivating, or you're able to pursue your goals and dreams and not be deterred. So this can see you really fighting for what you believe in. And also Pluto transiting your Mars in Aquarius can see you having some kind of sexual awakening, or this could see your let's say sexual taste or desires changing or transforming in some way, shape, or form. And I've already covered Pluto transiting the ascendant. Okay, so if you are an Aquarius ascendant / rising, right towards the beginning of the reading, I went through all of the 12 signs, so you can go and check that one out. And so, everyone, thank you so much for watching this Pluto in Aquarius transit video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. If you want to see more content on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. And also, don't be shy to share this video if you think other people will enjoy it. And just one more time, I wanted to reiterate that I've got my 2023 yearly horoscopes available for sale, so you can purchase yours using the link in the description box below. Enjoy the rest of your month, and I will see you guys with my April 2023 horoscopes.